Gary C. Johnson is a personal injury attorney practicing in Pikeville, Hazard, and Central Kentucky. You can reach him at 1-800-337-4002. Life is a journey, and everyone deserves all the happiness that this life has to offer. That's why attorney Gary C. Johnson created a weekly radio program almost 20 years ago to look at ways that we can improve our relationships, our health, and most important, our frame of mind. You know, by having the right information, our choices can be easier, and so can our happiness. Welcome to this edition of Simply Life with Gary C. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into the radio program Simply Life. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend from another week, Gary C. Johnson, back in the studio.
How we doing, guys and gals out there, my good friends? Hopefully, we're doing wonderful. Hopefully, you listened about happiness last week, and you've had a whole week of being happy.
Happy and healthy. Here you and I are having good bottled water, already being healthy in the new year.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk a little bit more, I think, this week about happiness, because I've been looking at the book, The Art of Happiness, a little more. And then it dawned on me how your state of mind and how you look at things is really going to determine whether or not you're happy. Then I need to tell this story again about my son, Charles Douglas. We called him CD, when he was very young. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time since I've told this story.
It has indeed.
And this was about 30 years ago that he taught me a lesson that was just absolutely a revelation to me. And it come out of the mouth of a 4-year-old. CD had been playing with this little girl in the community down in the lower bowls. And then one day I came home and I asked him, I said, CD, how'd it go today? He says, bad day, Dad. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, Emily didn't play with me. She went over on the other side, the other street, played with this other little boy. I said, but you've been playing with Emily every day. Yep, I had. I said, well, how do you feel about that? He said, well, I feel like I was betrayed. You know, this is a 4-year-old talking.
The first big betrayal at age 4.
And then I asked him, I said, well, are you going to play with her again now that you feel like you've been betrayed? And he thought about it for a little bit, and then he looked at me and said, yeah, I'm going to. And then old dummy me asked him, said, well, why would you do that? And he looked at me and said, it feels better.
So with all of your adult intelligence, facing the betrayal, you ask CD, why on God's earth would you go back and play with her after she broke the date, went across the street to the other little guy, and from the wisdom of a child, he said, because it feels better.
In other words, he understood at that age that how he felt was what was important.
Mm-hmm.
That it wasn't what somebody else was doing or how they felt, but what his actions that he would take that would make him feel the best was a course of action he was going to take. Now, I didn't have sense enough to know that.
Well,
it changed how I looked at things at that point, and that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the issue isn't what is going on around you. It's the issue is how are you going to feel, and which course of action is going to make you have the most happiness and feel the best.
You know, I think you're speaking to a lot of us, because I've heard over the last couple of weeks about really good friends defriending each other on Facebook, family members defriending each other on Facebook and saying they'll never speak to each other again.
Mistake.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to feel good about doing it after you do that.
Well, you got to carry that grudge, don't you?
And you carry a grudge, the only person that gets hurt by the grudge is you. I'll say that again. You carry a grudge, The only person hurt by that grudge is you. You pout. The only person hurt by the pouting is you. You need to change, my friends, if any of you are doing this, how you look at what is going on around you in terms of what course of action will make me feel the best. And you say, well, getting revenge will make me feel the best. No, it won't.
No.
Carrying a grudge will make me feel bad. Never. Never.
It's a burden to carry a grudge, isn't it?
It's a burden to stay mad at somebody. It's a burden to be angry.
You have to watch out for them. If they're in the same restaurant, you got to go to the other side. If you accidentally bump into them, you've got that awkward moment where you can't speak to them. You got to really work at carrying a grudge.
So what you do is you take an eraser and you erase that chalkboard.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what you did with CD, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he made the statement to you, it just feels better. Then all of a sudden, you had to erase all the things that you had experienced in life and go back and say, here's the wisdom of a 4-year-old telling me it feels better to forgive.
No. It wasn't just that it felt better to forgive and to go do it. It was his concern was, how is he going to feel?
Am I going to be happy?
Am I going to be happier this way, or am I going to be happier that way?
So tomorrow, when the sun is up and it's a beautiful play day, if Emily comes over,
I'm going to play.
Am I going to pout and say, you weren't here yesterday, you ran off to little Johnny across the street, now you're back? Or am I going to say, let's play and have a great day?
Yeah. I guess the point I'm trying to make, my friends, the focus is on your state of mind. Which thing, as we talked in the book, what course of action is going to make you the most happy?
Oh, my goodness. Now you've really got deep. So this wasn't about Emily.
No.
Emily
nothing to do with her.
Emily was pretty smart. She's going to be happy either way. She was either going to play with CD or she was going to go across the street and play with little Johnny. She was fine. This is about your son.
That's right. It was how he felt. And which way would make him be the most content. And at 4 years old, he had enough sense to know what to do. As his father, I didn't have enough sense to know that. He taught me a lesson that's carried me for the last 30 years.
So look at all the things that you could have, had he not said that you could have told him. We'll teach her a lesson.
Oh, well.
It could have gone, yeah, it could have gone all that way, but he stopped everything by saying, it makes me happier to play with her.
Right. And that was all that mattered.
So that's what worries me about people defriending each other right now. People that have friends and family members that 99% of the things about them are good and they bring you joy, but yet they've made a post or a statement or said something, and now you're going to defriend them over 1% of your relationship.
Well, it has always amazed me that things will be going along wonderful in a relationship between people.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly one thing will go wrong, because it generally does, because we're all human. And that one thing will define the relationship thereafter, or end it, with no thought of all of the wonderful good times everybody had before, all the good things each had done for the other one before. This is a break point. And if any of you are in that position right now, think it through. Go back and weigh the good and the bad, and realize life is going to go on. It's going to go on either way. The question is how will you feel 6 months or a year from now? Where will you be 6 months or a year from now? And will that one thing that happened change your entire world? Or will you look at it and say, I feel better if I ignore it?
You know, you make such a great point. It reminds me of Marty Brennaman, the Reds baseball announcer. Dave Concepcion had played for 20 years. At the end of his career, on the 20th year, he made a bad play. Marty Brennaman criticized him. They told Davey about it. Davey ran up to the press box and confronted Marty Brennaman over the words that he said, condemning his play. And Marty said to Dave Concepcion, for 20 years, I've sat up here and bragged on you, called you a Hall of Famer, day in and day out. In 20 years, you've never come up to say thank you. The one time I criticized your play, and rightfully so, you make an effort to come up here and confront me. And that was just exactly what you were pointing out, that we don't make the effort to call up people or thank people for all the good that they've done in our life, but boy, we can't wait to tell them about the one bad thing they did.
Living in this world is not necessarily an easy task.
No kidding.
You have to be on guard at all times against yourself. Not necessarily against others, but against yourself. And that chatterbox in your head, that's going to lead you down a path you don't need to be going. Anytime you have any situation happen, remember the 24-hour rule. Sit back, analyze, weigh everything, and in the balance, choose the path that will make you feel the best. If you don't wait 24 hours or whatever, you will choose the wrong path every time.
Listen,
because emotion will do it.
I've had people come up to me and tell Gary 24 minutes even works. Any kind of delay on that emotional response. And you did a program that's coming up on the television on emotional intelligence. What you're actually asking us to do again is to think, but not only to think, but to ask questions. Why would my friend do this? Why does my friend feel this way?
And I keep coming back to this. We're human beings.
Yes.
We can't be more than a human being. Anytime someone does something, it's because they think it's what they ought to be doing, or they wouldn't do it.
Now that is a great point. 99.9% of us do not wake up and set out to do the wrong thing. We think we're doing the right thing.
And it may be that it was the wrong thing, but don't necessarily make that a defining factor in your life that's going to define your relationship for the rest of your life with that person.
Gary, how do we use hindsight to judge people? I mean, hindsight makes us all real small or smart. You said the other day that we can solve everybody else's problems. Oh, we can bring them in a line and listen to their story and say, here's what you should have done and here's what you could have done, but we can't solve our own.
Because of our chatterbox. You know what I'm talking about, Keith, on the old chatterbox, right?
I know what we're talking about. Yeah. I've got my chatterbox right now chained up. He's locked up and chained up until I decide to take the key and let him out.
A fellow was telling me that how hard it is to control those thoughts in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it is.
It's very hard.
You have to consciously fight those thoughts in your mind. You can't let them take control.
What was the passage you read about uncontrolled emotions, that as humans we all have certain emotions that we can't control? And I gave you the example of the movie, The Bucket List, I went to when I actually broke down and cried. And
no, what the passage said was, you can't control when an emotion is going to flare up.
Okay, that's it.
But you can control how long it lasts.
Wow.
That's the key to it.
So none of us would we would never shed tears if we could control that emotion. We would never laugh if we could control that emotion.
We would laugh because laughter feels so good.
Yeah.
But if we would never be angry if we could control that motion. We would never harbor any type of hatred if we could control that motion. We would never have any type of envy if we could control that motion. But they're all going to grab you, folks, and you don't even know when. You can't control them coming on, but you can control the length of time they hang around and the consequences of them coming on. And with anger, you have to use the 24-hour rule. You absolutely have to.
Let me ask you now, with anger, can you sometimes feel it coming, though? Because there's times in my life when I get anger, I can feel it coming from a mile away.
Sure you can.
Like 4 or 5 things have happened that day, and it's just boiling, and it's boiling, and it's boiling, and then finally you get the event that releases it all so that you can be a complete you-know-what.
You have to get it under control before it gets to that point.
You got to realize it's coming.
You got to realize it's coming. You got to sniff it out, and you got to get it under control before you make a little, out of yourself. Otherwise, you will pay a price. How many times have I said that only the extremely rich can afford a temper? A poor man cannot afford to have a temper. It's too expensive.
It will get in your pocket.
Oh, it'll get you every time.
Well, you also said unless you've got all the friends you want to.
You can't afford to have a temper.
And I don't know of any of us that have
Unless
all the
you
friends.
have friends that will forgive you for being you-know-what. You can't afford a temper.
And even if they do forgive you, you got to ask the question, how long are they going to keep doing this if I don't change?
Right. But it's a state of mind is what I'm talking to my friends about, that you have to choose which course of action will make me the happiest, which will make me happy or which will make me sad. Then choose the course of action that's going to make you happy, even if you have to say, well, what about my pride? Forget your pride. The heck with the pride. I'll never let them make a fool out of me. Well, that's okay if you're a fool as long as you feel good.
CD didn't ask that question. He just went straight to the happiness, didn't he?
That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, the rest of it, who
That's
cares?
the point I'm trying to make to my friend is the thing that matters is how you feel. You, not what somebody else is doing or not doing. That's their problem to deal with, whether or not they are going to be happy. Your issue is what course of action will make you feel better. You say, well, what will people say? Who cares what people say as long as you feel good? What difference does it make? And normally people never are going to say things no matter what you do anyhow.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Well, they'll never have any respect for me. So what? If you feel good and you're happy, who cares what they do? That's the point I'm trying to make to my friends. They are irrelevant in this world of your happiness.
You know, when you put it in those terms, it's almost absurd that someone could say or do something and that you would lose your happiness because of what they said or did.
And because you didn't react to this, what will they think of me? Well, who's they? And who cares about they? Again, the issue, my friends, and I keep hammering this, is which course of action is going to make you feel the best.
You might be surprised what they already think of you.
Again, look, it's being human. They are going to gossip about you no matter what you do. It's okay.
It's life. It happens,
life.
Doesn't it?
It's life.
Not everybody's going to like you. No matter what you do, you're not going to please everybody. They're going to have problems with you. You can't chase them all down and beg them, please, please, I'm a good person. You need to like me. They just might not like you.
The issue is liking yourself.
Yes.
You have to love yourself first. Then you have to make those courses of action. And I keep repeating this, and I guess you guys are sick of hearing it. But What is going to make you feel good? What is going to enhance your happiness? Everybody else's happiness is their problem, their responsibility.
You know, that's the point that you made to me. If you can't be happy with yourself or happy around yourself, how could you ever expect anyone else to be happy to be around you?
Well, you'll find it's amazing if you do that and start concentrating on it. You will be happy, you will be smiling, you'll be laughing, and people will flock to you because of that attitude that you have. They won't be out there going behind your back and saying, they shouldn't have put up with that, they shouldn't have done that. That's not their decision to make.
You know, I had to make a visit to our Pikeville Medical Center with my wife, nothing serious, but I noticed some of the employees there. Lauren, the nurse, who was 35 weeks pregnant, expecting, at the end of a long shift. Gary, this little lady had a glow about her. She was the sweetest person in the world. John, who was the transporter, could not have been a nicer human being. And Lauren even said, when I was going through nursing school, I was so worried, and I met John, and he gave me a hug and said, "You're going to make a great nurse." She said he's the greatest guy in the world. And I watched the attitudes of Bobby and Ricky that come in, and everybody at the end of a long day they were there. They were doing all the things that you said, and they were bringing comfort to everybody that was there, and you made you feel good to be around them in a situation that you wouldn't feel good about.
Those are your heroes, true heroes.
Yes.
Because they are contributing immensely to the world.
Well, let me tell you something. The medicine of their attitude was probably the strongest thing. It eased you. It brought comfort to you. It brought conversation and a smile and all of these things. It made a wonderful difference, and I thought about all the things that you talked about on the radio, and I said, these people get it.
And you know what? Bet you they're happy.
No doubt in my mind.
So, my friends, if any of you are bitter right now that are listening to this program and you're harboring grudges, please erase that chalkboard. Get rid of those things in the past that's dragging you down to nothing. And it will be amazing what will happen in your world. Give it, at least, my friends, give it a try.
You know, I heard again on the way into work an article about Elon Musk, and I still thought about it. The richest man in the world, but said last year he really dealt with depression, and it was a horrible year. The richest man in the world, the man that I guess we all would think if we had his money we would have no problems, but he doesn't have the happiness that your 4-year-old son found in his life for some odd reason.
Doesn't have a family.
Maybe no friends.
Who knows, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know him, so
neither do I.
I've never seen any indication that he has a family. He may have one. But I'll bet you if he's that miserable, he doesn't.
And he's the one that made the statement. I've dealt with severe depression. And yet you're sitting here talking about we can control that, and we can make a decision today on how we face life and in how we face our happiness.
As I've said it so many times on this program, every day you'll be confronted with things that will require a course of action one way or the other. Choose wisely.
It's almost like life as you wake up and you face the day. It's almost like one of those games. There's going to be good things come. There's going to be bad things come. You don't know which day. You don't know what they're going to be. It's all in how you deal with it.
And my friends, on this program today, I was planning on talking about something entirely different than what we've talked about. But when we started the program, popped in the old brain, for some reason, that some of my friends out there may need to hear what we're talking about.
I thought it was a wonderful program. because I'd heard from about a dozen people defriending each other, losing relationships, losing friends, and there was no need for it.
And always remember when they say, always ask, who are they?
They tell me,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, those experts that we repeat. It wasn't long ago that you and I were getting ready to do a program, and I was telling you what happened, and you said, "Well, where did you hear that happen from?" I said, "Well, they said." You said, "Who's they?" And I said, "Hell, I don't know. I don't even know who told me now." And then I got to the point to where I said, "You know what? I don't even know if it's true." And you said, "Well, look it up." And it was a complete farce. But I had just repeated something that I had been told as the gospel truth to you. You didn't tell me I was wrong. You just said, "Did you look it up? Did you verify it?" And I said, "No, I just took them or they at their word." Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be that I was completely wrong, that the event that I told you about did not happen.
If I can get all of my friends to do their own research instead of listening to what someone else says on any matter that's of any importance, it will make a difference in how they feel about things in life. It may change your attitudes. It may change what you believe. It is amazing when you do your research and don't just blindly follow.
But you know what the great point you just made about that? It will then be your
It's
thoughts.
yours. It's yours.
And your opinions.
It's not somebody else's. It's yours.
You're not repeating. I agree. My friend, what a wonderful program. Thank you, CD, for the lesson 30 years ago. We needed it. You can catch Gary's television show Tuesday nights on WYMT, your CBS affiliate, at 7 p.m. A late-night replay is in Central Kentucky on your CBS affiliate, WKYT. If you like to start the week early on your Fox affiliate, 6:30 a.m., you can see Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. Or if you start the weekend on Friday at 6:30 a.m., we're on both of those days. Should you need to get in touch with Gary, GaryCJohnson.com. My friend, it feels good to feel good. Thank you for the program.
I hope it helps.
On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this very same time.
Thanks for listening to Simply Life with attorney Gary C. Johnson. If you'd like to reach the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm, you can call 1-800-337-4002. Until next week, may you be safe, healthy, and happy. And most of all, remember that you're unique and a gift from God. If you'd like to receive a podcast of this week's show or any future show, go to GaryCJohnson.com and sign up today. Thanks for listening to Simply Life.